All right, so I just cleaned off the cutting board, and in here now we have our chives and our tarragon. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take our parsley. We're gonna put in about 3 tablespoons of dried parsley, and then I'm gonna take some marjoram. Now marjoram is this is a ground marjoram. So what I'm gonna do just for flavor is I'm gonna sprinkle into this. You can see it coming in. I'm just gonna do it till I coat the top of the parsley with a very light layer. That's probably about, I don't know, maybe about a tablespoon. Maybe not even maybe like 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon, roughly, altogether of marjoram. And then what I will do, just to keep these fresh until we use it, take a little olive oil, drizzle that over, and then we're going to mix that up. So just gotta get a trusty washed stainless steel spoon, and we will just mix that just so that all of these are coated, pressing the marjoram down. Don't mind adding a little bit of pepper into there. We're gonna add some pepper anyway as we go, and salt to keep our seasoning up. I don't want to put salt in the herbs right now because I don't want this to become watery. So just add a little pepper. You can see when the leaves all start getting like they look a little glossy, shiny, glassy, you know you've kind of done your job here. These will be used a little later. Notice in the bottom, you shouldn't have like a little puddle of oil. You don't want that per se here right now. Okay, so we'll leave that, and you've made your homemade fine herbs. All right, so now we're gonna be going on to browning these eggplants. They've been sitting for well over half an hour. I'm thinking probably closer to an hour, if not 45 minutes to an hour. You can see some of the wet spots on the paper towels, and as well the layers underneath will have done the same. We need to basically use a frying pan, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna brown these in olive oil. So you want to do this on high heat, but don't put it on high. I mean, never use your oven high unless you're boiling something. Otherwise, you're going to end up burning things. So I'm putting these to medium high, which is, you know, if you have numbers 1 through 10, I'd say about a 6 or 7 max. Maybe 6 is good. Let's go with 6. Olive oil, the reason we use olive oil, it's got a high smoking point, which means that when you hear that stuff, it just means that if you were to put butter in here, it's gonna brown right away and it's gonna start burning because of the fat inside of it. We're gonna just use some olive oil. So, and the one thing about eggplant, if you've never cooked with this, eggplant absorbs, it's like a sponge. So even putting oil in, it's gonna suck up this oil that you put in here and it's gonna keep it. Okay, so the key is that, we do want it high. We want the heat, we want this oil hot when we put it in, because this isn't going to be a session where we just, you know, put the eggplant in and leave it there to absorb all the oil. It's okay if it does absorb all the oil. We're not just going to leave it there indefinitely. And we're not trying to fully cook it. We're just trying to brown the eggplant. Okay? So these are getting heat. You can see the oil starting to form. It's getting thinner as it gets hotter. Or less viscous as it gets hotter. Yeah, so that's doing that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna peel back a layer. Keep these towels, like they're not drenched, but you can use it just to re-push, get some of that extra water off of your eggplant right now, okay? And as I'm pushing, it's going in on the other side of the paper towel, so you don't really have to do this on both sides. One side will be enough. And I'll just keep this paper towel off to the side right here. And See this? This is getting hot. Now, if you have a splatter screen, because oil could pop up, be aware that it could. So, and we have to brown both sides. So we're gonna brown one side, obviously flip it. Get something you can use to flip over your eggplant. I like to use plastic spatulas. I find them just easy and they don't scratch your pans. And then of course, having something to put your eggplant in when you're done, which I'm gonna use the bottom part of this. I'll put it on the other side of the oven here, just to transfer all of the browned eggplant in. I need my oil nearby because I'm gonna have to use that. So these are hot. You can see how runny this oil is. Both of these. So remember, I know I've got my pan handles. Try not to have your pan handles just out. You can end up hitting this and scalding yourself or someone else, or your dogs, more importantly, right? So just keep them off to the side. So I'm gonna start off putting one in. I'm just moving it around, get a smaller one, put that one down. In the other pan as well, do the same thing. Put 1, 2, I could probably fit 3 in here. Now you can see right away, look, the oil is absorbed already by this eggplant. Okay. So anyway, we're doing that, and we're just going to keep going. We're going to brown these up. You'll see as I turn them. I'm just going to leave the video going just so you can see what I'm talking about with browning. We'll do one of them. You know, I don't like how many are in here because they're actually lipping up. This is a smaller frying pan. So I'm going to take one out, keep it so we keep the oil, just so that these two can brown up. And if you need to add more olive oil, you add more olive oil. I'm going to leave the olive oil that I have in there for now, and I will add olive oil, can you guess, when I flip them over, so that side gets some. Okay? So this is just going, again, you know, when making this dish, like, the reason what we're going to do is we're going to sit these off to the side. The paper towels are going to be used again once they've been browned, just because any excess oil and everything else is going to be draining off of it. Again, we're trying to do as much as we can to get as much of the liquid out of this. So using heat right now is going to be one. We also use salt to take some initial water out. But, yeah. Because we want to let them brown, let them cook. This is the important time, let them cook. My family, we went to Greece 2 summers ago, and we were in Athens. We also went down to the island of Rhodes, where my father's from, and in the village of Lardos. And we stayed there, reconnected with some family. But the cuisine in Greece, this is such a eggplant is such a beautiful vegetable to use. And again, I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure a lot of you go in the grocery store, you see an eggplant, you think, you just pass by it without even thinking. But it's there, get it, try this. It's a delicious dish. Eggplant is so good to cook with and to eat. So let's try turning one of these over. So you see that brownness right there? That's what we're looking for. If I lift that up, you can see that, how it's kind of just got some brown on it. That's what we're looking for there. We're going to flip it over. We're going to flip this guy over. Again, we're going to take this one over here. You notice I'm putting my hands, but I'm only touching the eggplant. I'm not touching the pan. And you have to be very careful. If you're not comfortable doing that, use two tools to do that. Now that I flipped it, I just want to add in a little more oil to get the bottoms of those pieces. Going to absorb it, move it around with your tool to absorb the oil that you just put in to prevent it from splattering everywhere. Okay. And then in the meantime, I'm going to take the paper towel I had, reopen it back up, but 2 layers thick. and I'm going to put it into my other pan. And these eggplants are going to be going over into this to store while we do the next batch into the frying pans. This, for each of these, you've seen I flipped them. They were probably frying for maybe about, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. So that's what you want to do on each of the sides. It's good while they're cooking right now. You notice I'm not moving them. I'm not flipping them around. I want the contact that they have with the pan to stay there and crisp and burn and fry, brown that up. Then we end up flipping them. Okay? So, got that. These are almost ready. If you find your heat is too much and you're getting smoke coming up from your frying pan, that's an indication you went a little too high. Or you're cooking them too long. But the first thing, if you see a lot of smoke coming up, you're burning them, you gotta adjust what you're doing. So I'm gonna flip these over. I got some brown, and again, I've got some brown. Beautiful. So these are gonna be transferred over into our tray. Bear with me here as I do this. And we're going to take these ones and do the same thing. Take both of these one at a time. 1 and 2. That's what you should have. Okay? So we're going to go through, finish the rest of these up. All right, so now that we've finished the eggplant, and I'm sure you have as well, now we got to make the tastiest part of this dish, the meat mixture. And that's going to involve the following ingredients. What we've got here is we've got, again, our chopped garlic. We've got our potatoes. You notice I've drained the water from those. We've got our chopped onions. We've got our 4 to 5 pounds of ground beef. We've got our finer mixture. And we've got 2 cans of tomato sauce. Feel free to do that with your own tomatoes. If you want to make your own tomato sauce, you go ahead. I'm fine with just using a can. And lastly, you need some butter. Now we've got, my wife and I, we went to France, and this is actually Bordier butter, is the best butter in the world. You will have never experienced butter until you've tasted this, just on bread. You could actually just eat half of that. As disgusting as that sounds, you could probably eat half of that block there just in bread. It's so tasty. So we're going to use that butter in our meat mixture. We've got our pot on our stove that we will begin heating, and what we're first going to do, what I'll do is I will we're going to start getting these ingredients and putting them in the order, and I'll show you. But we do start off by melting some butter as we add our ground beef. So let's get on with that.